Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel, wishing you a happy start to this Saturday morning over here as we get prepared to look at the old Ethereum, the brother to Bitcoin, the silver to Bitcoin's gold, kind of, not really, but more importantly, just switching things up on a slow Saturday over here as Ethereum going to be having some interesting things on the higher term timeframes, may even help look at the overall picture for Bitcoin and by the extension, the rest of the cryptocurrency market as well. And other than that, I want to once again humbly request that if you find this content valuable or in some way meaningful, please do consider liking it and also hitting the old bell icon there for the YouTubes. Anyways, let's just jump right into it. I'm going to start off and just head right on into this one, balls deep, baby, because this one's be rather on the quick side, I do suspect. But on the daily right here, we can see that Ethereum has put in a couple drives actually, of regular bullish divergence come off this last presumed low right here at about $1,800. That is coming alongside an incredibly low volatility regime, and I would even say that this would be a secondary jewel signal over here as well. In fact, that's going to become a lot more interesting on a higher term time frame when we do get to it. But ultimately, on the daily right here, yes, the setup is for likely a test a little bit higher. Now, this is in no way, shape, or form focused on the lower term timeframes. In fact, I'll just kind of spoil the surprise right here as we'll go over much later in this video. Very, very low term timeframes probably do pull back over the weekends, but pullbacks, likely do get picked back on up. And I expect that this one will try higher coming into this next week. Anyways, moving on now, we can go and reference the Gaussian channel right here on the daily. Again, another bounce of the bottom side of the Gaussian channel, of course, and the mean coming in right around about 1865. Keep that number in the back of your mind because it will pop up a little bit later. But before that, I do want to now reference the weekly time frame, putting these two puzzle pieces together. And we can see that on the weekly time frame right here, it is still holding on to, for dear life, that mean band. And as long as it's above that mean band, which is currently 1769 or so, great number right there, basically the low of the week thus far, I have the same thing to say as Bitcoin. It's like, yeah, it might test lower, but as long as there's no closures below, it's more likely to bounce off this region than not on the weekly time frame, and bounces can come back up to the tops of the Gaussian channel, which is, well, pretty much the highs of this early year rally thus far, into the low 2200-ish region, of course. So again, as long as Ethereum's above this region, I do look at that as essentially a consolidation before getting ready to try higher, maybe into the month of June, something like that would kind of make sense. Anyways, moving on now, I did want to reference the HPGR ranges over here. 12-hour time frame. I think when we last looked at it, we were looking at this area over here saying that, hey, it's probably going to consolidate for a while. I believe that's what we've been getting. And in this case, there's actually really not any major differences in the HPGR ranges, but it is becoming a lot more mature within this consolidation. As we can see over here, BBWP representing volatility is incredibly low, or has been incredibly low, and is now looking like it's going into an expansion phase for the first time in quite some time, after a contraction phase that got into the very, very critical zones for it looks like about a month. Yeah, about a month straight. So that is rather severe, suggesting that the breakout from this consolidation being high side of 1865, same number coming up as before. That's what that's what I was referencing, and basically the low of this structure right here as well. Let's just call it 1760. It's likely to be an explosive move, a rather large move. Let's see what we can compare it to historically speaking. Yeah, the last time that we saw it this low for this long was coming off of the December lows, where Ethereum was getting ready for a run from 1200 to 1600, basically unabated, basically no pullbacks the whole way through. Now, of course, volatility is direction neutral. That's what we use our other tools for, to kind of get a bias on direction. But for right now, there are a few more things on the higher term timeframes pointing to the upside rather than the downside, actually. And as you can see, if Ethereum can close above even the 12-hour median right here, actually this one's going to be the average of historic returns, at 1860, then I would be looking for Ethereum to put in a rally, maybe close to $2,000. And that's going to start to look, really good for, I guess, an explosive June, maybe. Until then, the same sort of game does apply. I don't know if you can hear that click clack in the background, but I left the door open, God forbid. But more importantly in this, I would be looking at this as a breakdown, again, below this week's low, 1769 on a closing basis. At that point, very likely, alongside Bitcoin, looking for, bigger pullbacks. And yeah, yesterday, regarding Bitcoin, I was probably looking for a bit of a bounce, but probably that bounce to fail. I'm going to probably start to switch around on that, just because of how high this bounce got thus far. That was rather significant. Still want to see another day or so, but pullback probably does put in a higher low, and I'm kind of looking at the same thing over here on Ethereum as well. Anyways, yes. So moving now into stochastic momentum, we can see starting off with the 2-day time frame, momentum is actually pointed to the upside as long as Ethereum's above 1800. Closure coming in tomorrow night, Sunday. Daily time frame is obviously going to be to the upside as well, as long as Ethereum's above 1817. 12-hour time frame is also going to be pointed to the upside as long as Ethereum's above 1794. 6-hour time frame, vertical above 1790. 4-hour time frame also vertical above 1818, a little bit closer to current price action, I should say. And the hourly is going to be actually positioned for the downside if it does close basically here or lower in the next closing period. So, very, very short-term time frames. Does it pull back a little bit? Probably, yeah. Pullbacks down to like 1800 are fine. Just don't want to see it take out this current week's low or basically Thursday's low. If it does, that's where problems start to happen. But until then, does it do something like this where, it kind of teeter-totters into the weekend and then, tries another move to the upside coming into next week? Perhaps yes. Anyways, yes. So, also on that note, if we do go down to the very, very low term timeframes, there is some regular bearish divergence forming right here. 1, 2, 3 drives coming off this last few highs. It's an hourly time frame. It's not anything like super concerning, but yeah, if it does come down to like low 1800s, that would kind of be expected, I suspect, in the more short term. One last thing that I'll leave you with. Let's go look at Ethereum Bitcoin pairing. This one's always somewhat interesting, or at least sometimes interesting. And let's put it on a 5-day time frame right here. And while long term, I still do remain with major reservations on the Ethereum Bitcoin pair. I do essentially think that this is one massive top here. In the short term, in the more near term, I do think that this rally very likely does continue here. So this one does likely give another move to the upside. Looking at the 5-day time frame, we see a couple of things. First and foremost, volatility represented by the HPDR V2 is coming off of extreme lows, so looking like it's actually going to enter into a full-on expansion phase from some of the lowest levels that we've really ever seen ever, for this long. On this particular indicator, it really doesn't stay down for that long, so I'm trying to find something that's comparable, but maybe closest I can find is back here. Yeah, it's even that's not super comparable, so perhaps not. Yeah, I guess maybe we'd have to go all the way back down to like 2016. 2016 basically, a little bit too far out of the way. Anyways, going back into it over here, I did want to point out that the 5-day jewel is actually given a secondary setup as well. It is not supported by DMI just yet. We might get a chance for that next 3 days, but typically when we do see some signature like this where it kind of pulls back into it and then lifts off again, that's usually going to play out. Which I suspect that maybe we could reference another momentum oscillator over here with the stochastic oscillator and just see where that pivot is and see if they kind of agree with each other. And yeah, I'd say somewhat, it's going to be showing up some momentum as long as Ethereum Bitcoin is above 0.6538. So, again, does this one trade to the upside first before, maybe catastrophic downside later on in this year? Yeah, I do think so. And again, when I'm talking about downside in Ethereum Bitcoin, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Ethereum US dollar pairing is going to go to the downside. It's just the relationship between Ethereum and Bitcoin, obviously. So not the same thing, obviously. Ethereum, what I'm trying to say is that Ethereum USD can go up while this pair goes down. But in the short term, in the more near term, and I expect over the next month or so, we do see this one try to the upside more. Maybe even all the way back up to 7.5 million Satoshis. But looking at it right here, yeah, I do think that has more upside to come. As I lose my voice, man, what the hell was going on? I woke up this morning with like a really, really raspy voice, so don't know what the hell's going on there, man. But you know what? The show must go on nonetheless. So I think that's going to be it for today's video. A little bit more on the shorter side, but short and sweet is good, especially on a Saturday, which is typically slow anyways. Don't want to be boring you with all the nonsense. I think one last thing that I'll leave you with is that, yes, you can still get the Jewel Light for free for the first 30 days if you follow the directions in the link in the description below. And then what else? Oh yeah, we're going to have a sale starting Monday. So if you're looking at any one of the programs or products or anything that we have in the store, please do, or you might want to consider just waiting like a couple days, save yourself a few bucks, and we'll be running a sale for the week to come for Memorial Day, as it's actually a holiday. I don't know if it's a holiday in Europe or anything like that, but for us Americans, it is, and that's good enough. Anyways, yeah, I'll leave it all out on that note. I want to wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.